Hi, I'm Marc Accetta, your Director of Training with World Ventures, and I am so glad you decided to invest in yourself and get this program. There are so many great tools we have in the company, from our live workshops, which are really probably our greatest teaching assets, but also we have Drive Time University, we have our monthly disc, we have PSP, we have our regional trainings. We have so many great things going on and so many tools to give you so you can get as good as you want to get in this business. But I just can't think of any of our tools that will give you more bang for your buck, so to speak, than what you're going to learn here, because what you're going to learn here is going to help you become a master at dealing with people. See, the only place in the world that money comes from is other people. When you really think about it, our happiness level on this planet has a lot to do with our ability to deal with people. And when you're in a situation anytime where you meet somebody and you get along well, you're just in sync, you're like twin sons from a different mother or something like that, then life is really easy and effortless. But when you're dealing with someone, I don't care if it's a work situation, a personal situation, a dating situation, a parent and child situation, when you don't have the natural same likes and dislikes, then all of a sudden it's like swimming against the tide a lot of times. So this program is designed to teach you how to read people instantly, understand yourself, and become a master communicator. And if money only comes from other people, it's certainly going to help you make more money. It's going to give you a major competitive edge in business, but it's also going to give you a competitive edge on just having a better and happier life. And I love the name we chose, Living in Full Color, because in all sincerity, I learned this when I was about close to 30 years old. And up until that point, I really look at it, and a great analogy is like I was living my life in black and white. The problem is, you don't know what you don't know, so I didn't know there was anything different. See, if you were watching a TV set in the 40s and 50s or 60s, whatever, and it was all black and white, what do you know? It was amazing just to have a TV set. But all of a sudden they came out with color, and wham, what a difference. I mean, vivid, bright color dramatically changed things. It's incredibly rare when you ever see a show in black and white anymore because color is so much better. Well, guess what? Doing your life and your business in color is a lot better. And most people are colorblind when it comes to the subject matter we're talking about. Now, I'm not talking literally colorblind. When most of you look at me right now, you can see that I've got brown hair. You can see I've got a pink shirt on and black pants. You can probably see that. Now, if you're literally colorblind, maybe you can't see those colors, but I'm not talking about those types of colors. I'm talking about colorblind when it comes to other people, because what we do is we give each of the 4 basic personality types a color. And the objective here is partially for you to understand more about yourself, but that's not the main thing here. The main thing is for you to be able to read other people, adapt yourself, and be able to come across in a manner that's comfortable for them. The reason why we use colors is because it's simple and because we want you to become a chameleon. I think everyone knows what a chameleon is. A chameleon changes colors to protect itself from, the animals that are trying to devour it. You know what I mean? Well, over here, we're changing colors not for self-preservation necessarily, but we're changing colors to get along with people easier, but more importantly, to make a higher profit, because people will buy from us if they like us and trust us. People will follow us into a business venture if they like us and trust us. So it's all about communicating with people in a way that's best for them. See, the one thing, I don't care if we're black, white, male, female, younger, more mature, one thing that all human beings all around the world, we all agree with one thing, and I know some of you are going, no, that's impossible. There's no one thing that everyone agrees on. I beg to differ. There is. One thing we all know everywhere in the world is this, that we're right. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. We just assume that we're right and everybody else who disagrees with us is wrong. And we have this assumption that people just have the same beliefs, thoughts, desires, likes, and dislikes that we have. And that's my point. That is not true. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the people don't think like you think and don't like what you like. So it's very critical for us not to just say something from our own perspective. For example, if the reason you got involved in World Ventures was money, 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 you want money because you want to buy expensive expensive things and you want to go on vacations to Ritz-Carltons and you want to have a huge mansion and all that stuff, that's great. But believe it or not, that is not the main reason that most people get involved in World Ventures. That's not the main thing that drives people in their lives. So if that's what's driving you and you assume everyone else is like that, you're going to miss so many potential prospects and sales because you're pitching only what you're interested in. See, if you could sit down with someone, identify which of the 4 personalities they're in very, very quickly, and then adjust your entire presentation to what they want to buy more so than what you want to sell them, well, I think you now realize why this program is going to give you a tremendous amount of money for what you paid for, because the bottom line is it's going to give you a dramatic ability to increase your closing percentage dramatically. I mean, really increase your success overall. So I want to just share this with you. The idea of personality profiling is not mine. It goes back to about 450 BC with a fellow named Hippocrates. You probably heard of him. And he was a doctor and he really studied things thoroughly, and there were 4 main fluids according to him in the body. You know, you have your respiratory fluid, your blood type, your yellow and black bile, I think it was. And he went on to this very scientific, you know, if this videotape was going to be talking about yellow and black bile, wouldn't you be like, oh, I don't think so. So I'm not going to get real scientific with you. As a matter of fact, the reason why I use colors instead, he used words like phlegmatic for one group and melancholy for another. First of all, we don't use those words anymore. Secondly, they're too complicated. I want this to be simple, like me. So we have colors: blue, red, green, and yellow. And it's not based on the color bile you have or your respiratory fluid. I'm not saying there's not validity to what Hippocrates did, but over the years, a lot of different people have chimed in on personality profiling. Carl Jung was really big into it. In the United States here in the 21st century, or in the 20th century, excuse me, Myers-Briggs became really big on it, and then DISC became really popular. I'm sure some of you have probably taken a test like this or had some training on this in your corporate job. I'm going to ask you to forget about all of that stuff, because most of that, in my opinion, was way too complicated and was not applicable to the business that you're doing. The bottom line is we learned about us. We're all focused on finding out who we are. And as we go into one portion of this overall program, we will focus on who you are. But as I said, the big learning lesson here is not who you are. It's about how you interact with all the other groups. So it's more so understanding all 4 groups and what they like and what they dislike. So once again, this is going to be exciting. I'm so glad that you are participating. I recommend that you watch this video, listen to your audios, and read the book again and again and again and again. One thing we teach you at the seminars, there's 4 stages of learning. In the beginning, we're unconsciously incompetent. We don't know that we don't know. Then when you start to learn something new, like a foreign language or how to identify people's personalities, whatever it is, we become consciously incompetent. In the beginning, you're going to be going, oh my gosh, how will I know if someone's red or blue or green? I'm going to have to give them all the test. No, you're not. Because it's not that hard. After watching this video, listening to the audios, and reading the book on any kind of a regular basis, you'll be able to have triggers to identify people almost instantly. But in the beginning, you're going to be consciously incompetent. You're going to make a few mistakes. You're going to think someone's a red and they're really going to be a yellow, which is kind of a difficult mistake to make, but you'll make it just like I did years and years ago. The cool thing is we keep going through it, and if you keep studying this, you'll become consciously competent. You'll be able to tell who's a yellow, who's a red, who's a blue, who's a green. But you're going to have to really think about it. You're going to go, oh yeah, they're dressed this way, or their hairstyle is that way, or their tone of their voice is this way, so that's why they're this color. Okay, but as you keep doing it and keep doing it, eventually it'll become unconsciously competent. You'll just be great at doing it. You won't even know that you're doing it anymore. You'll just instantly, within a matter of 30 to 60 seconds of meeting someone, based upon the way they greet you, whether they were on time or not, all the things we're going to talk about on this video and on the audios, everything will give you a clue almost instantly which color they are. So then unconsciously, you're going to adjust the tone of your voice, the content of your conversation, and you'll naturally talk to them in the way that they need to be talked to. I'm telling you, folks, once you master this, it's going to give you a huge advantage on everything you're doing in your life, from your World Ventures business to your relationship to raising your children. It really is that powerful. Now, go ahead and take the test if you haven't already taken it. You want to make sure you take the test. And understand this, when you're done taking the test, sometimes you take the test and you come out as a red. But then when you're watching this video and listening to the audios, you're going, you know what? I don't really think I'm red. I think I'm more green, let's say. And that's fine, because when we take the test, you have to understand a lot of people take the test and they understand how to take it, and they take it the way they really are. But most people I've found over the years don't take the test the way they really are. They take the test the way they wish they were. So once again, reds are very driven and determined and all that stuff, but very few people are really like that. So a lot of people will take the test and they'll answer the questions in a slanted way, so they sort of come out in a more powerful way, and that's just not the way to do it. Besides that, how many tests have we taken over the years in grade school, high school, and college and not gotten 100 on them? So if you test out and it tests out that you're one color, but as you watch this video over and over again, you listen over and over again, you feel like you're different than how you tested, that's probably the way it really is. And please understand this, no one is just red or just blue or just yellow or just green. We're all blended. I like to give you the analogy of all human beings are different. I mean, you can't say, I've been traveling all over the world recently, and for example, I just got back from Norway. And in Norway, there's a lot of people with blonde hair and fair skin, but not everybody has blonde hair and fair skin. It would be absurd to say everyone in Norway has blonde hair. That's too much of a generalization. But certainly, when you go to different parts of the world, or even different parts of the country that you live in, different people in different regions have different general characteristics. And that's what we're talking about here. Yellows will have certain tendencies, unconscious tendencies, as will blues, reds, greens, and yellows. So that's the general idea here. You're getting a competitive advantage. You have a general idea. But, as I said, no two people are the same. If you look at two human beings, how rare is it that two people, now we all have two eyes, two ears, a nose, a mouth, but how rare is it when you find someone who looks identical to someone else? You'll find a lot of people that look similar, but rarely are people identical. So we all have all four personalities blended in here. You just have to pay a little bit of attention and see which one someone is dominant in, and then that's where you go. You go down the path of the most dominant. But don't be surprised if you find someone who's a little red and a little yellow. As a matter of fact, my watch is definitely a red watch. It's a very ostentatious watch. I bought it many years ago when I was very enamored with a mentor of mine who was worth millions upon millions of dollars. The last time I saw him, I think he had a watch that cost him $250,000 or something like that. It was all diamonds. It was amazing. But once again, very ostentatious. And on my other wrist, I've got a silly band, which is a sentimental deal because my young daughter gave it to me and she told me she really would love it if I would wear it all the time. So this is weird. You know, usually someone who would wear this wouldn't wear this, or someone who would wear this wouldn't wear that. And that's because I'm not just red and I'm not just yellow. I'm a blend of the two. Now when push comes to shove, I'm more red than I am yellow, but I've got both. Does that make sense? So this is not an exact answer to anything. You can't say, well, if someone's red, they're red in everything they do. The bottom line is it gives you a good idea of what their major tendencies are going to be. It gives you the tone of voice to talk to them in, and it's just going to give you a lot of advantages that you would never have if you were doing your business and doing your life in black and white, the way many people have been doing their whole life. Now you've got full color. So jump into this video. I urge you to get everyone on your team to get this series so they have their own and they can watch it, listen to it, and read it again and again and again and again and again. Because I'm telling you, if your entire team is unconsciously confident at the information that's on this video, you're going to be well on your way to becoming an international marketing director. So sit back, have fun, enjoy this many, many, many times, and I'll look forward to seeing you at one of our live workshops real soon. Okay, we're going to start off talking about reds because in a lot of ways, reds are some of our most successful people within the company. In many businesses, reds do a great job. Now, here's the key thing. Okay, there are reds in our company like Byron Schraub, Troy Brown, Dr. David Peach, Carrie Schneider. These are all people that have a lot of red in them. So a lot of people, and there's others as well, but those are just a few examples. So a lot of people are going, oh my gosh, I want to be like them. Here's the deal. You don't want to try to change who you are, because if you're naturally yellow and you try to be red, it's not going to be good, okay? What you want to do, and you should understand this already, but if you don't, you can recruit who you aren't in this business. So, you know, if you're a short guy, you can recruit tall people. If you're a female, you can recruit males, and so on and so forth. So if you're not red, you can recruit reds. Now, you may have a hard time right now recruiting reds on your team because you don't understand how to deal with the reds. But by the end of this series, you'll know exactly what to do to move them to action to get them into your business. You cannot be intimidated by them. That's a clue. But we'll get more to that in a different video. Also, I just want you to understand before we get into what a red's all about is that in the beginning you may find that you're kind of red and you may get redder as time goes by. Our circumstances in life may change us. My wife was not green at all. Not analytical at all. We'll get to what green is in a moment. But because of her circumstances, basically becoming the CFO of my personal company, she had to deal with so many facts and figures, she became more green because of her circumstances. Me, I was red. I was always more red than anything else, but I wasn't a real aggressive red. But then I had a mentor for 10 years who was super aggressive, and me being around him all the time during that time period, I became redder and redder and redder. So our circumstances and the people around us can certainly shift who we are, but the goal is you shouldn't try to change who you are. Every color has got a typical red in this case, then dysfunctional and highly functioning. So as you go to a different chapter on this DVD, you're going to get all that information. So if you're looking to improve, it's not going from group to group, it's staying who you are and making sure you're highly functioning in your color, if that all makes sense. So let's get to reds. Reds are driven, aggressive, determined. They want to win at all costs. The ends justify the means. I think of people like Michael Jordan. I think of General George Patton. I think of, you know, the real heroes in life a lot of times are reds. Now, what makes them great is their focus, their determination, and they have to win at all costs. But notice what I just said, win at all costs. A lot of times, reds, especially dysfunctional ones, will do whatever it takes, meaning sometimes they do unethical things to get there. Sometimes they'll step on people or they'll hurt people's feelings badly to get there. They're so focused that they kind of forget about anything else that's going on in their life. Reds are definitely self-centered. It's all about them. They like to be the center of attention. They're great at taking, not so great at giving. I remember early in my relationship with my wife, I worked, I don't know, 7 or 8 Valentine's days in a row. I worked because I was so focused and determined. And to me, it's like, what's the big deal? Valentine's Day is a Tuesday night. I'm working on Tuesday. So, you know, we can go out some other time, you know what I mean, but not tonight. And I didn't understand as a self-centered red who was pursuing my own needs that I was being very insensitive to the gal. Thank God she stayed with me. We've been together over 20 years. I'm sure if you ignore your gal for 7 or 8 Valentine's days in a row, it might not work out so well. I'm very blessed. But you get my point. That's a classic example. None of these personalities are the right one. There is no right one. They are what they are, and we all come by this naturally. So once again, don't try to change who you are. I know I keep making that point, but a lot of people don't get that point. Reds, driven, determined, all that kind of good stuff, but selfish, very impatient. A lot of times reds, if they don't get immediate results, they go off and do something else real quickly. They're not the people with the long-term attitude. They want to make a lot of money really fast. They want the best of the best of the best. They want the most expensive stuff. A lot of reds are very insecure deep down inside, so that's why we're so boisterous, we're so loud, and it's also why we achieve at such a high level. You know, once again, reds need stuff. You know what I mean? I've already mentioned my watch. I've also always had cars that were over $100,000. You know, I look back and analyze it's because I wanted people to come up and go, wow, nice car, wow, nice house, wow, nice. I didn't really have a lot of belief in myself, so I figured if I could show people all my stuff, they'd have to be impressed with me. If I was a top 10 income earner in a company, they'd have to be impressed with me. Now, once again, I'm not necessarily saying that's a good thing to come from that place of insecurity, but that's the reality about reds. We're very driven, we're very determined, we're very self-centered. Now, the second group we're going to talk about are the yellows. And I love talking about the yellows after the red because the yellows in many ways are kind of opposite of reds. The yellows are not super competitive like a red. They are definitely not the ends justify the means. The yellows are the ones that want to play by the rules, do everything ethically and honestly. Yellows don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. They're very relationship driven. They want everyone to be in harmony. While the reds get up in the morning and want to argue, they want a conflict, they like things being in conflict. Yellows are the exact opposite. Yellows will purposely avoid a confrontation and just put up with garbage for a long time because they just don't like that confrontational situation. It's so opposite of what a red does. Yellows are nurturing people. They have great relationships, true friendships. When they're talking to you, they actually listen to what you have to say. They actually care about what's going on. They just want harmony. They care about the environment. They care about children and causes and things along those lines. They're just really some of the finest people we have on the planet. Now, once again, already you can see how incredibly different they are than reds. Now, when you get them on your team, you may get frustrated with yellow because they're not real driven for their own personal gain. They're not going to be driven to go out necessarily and buy a big old house or to earn a certain level of promotion so they can get personal glory. The key to a yellow is getting them involved in a team cause. If you're trying to get the team to win and they can contribute and help the team, now that's where they can start getting pretty competitive. But if you're in a situation where you're trying to push their buttons for their own personal glory, you're going to end up getting frustrated with them. There's so many times I've seen, someone who's got someone on our team go, I just don't understand them. They're so close to, getting the director promotion. I understand why they're not into it, because to a red, that's everything. Getting a trophy, winning, that's everything. To a yellow, they're like, yeah, whatever. If I get it, it'd be nice. But if not, no big deal. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, I'd like to make more money, but... And that, you follow what I'm saying? You're starting to understand, I'm sure. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is hilarious because it's just human nature. It just shows you how different people see things differently, and it actually becomes comical beyond belief. But anyway, yellows are just the way they are. Now, the other thing about yellows is they care about people, so they have huge warm markets. Not only that, the people in their warm markets know who they are, so they can get a lot of people on the phone. They can get a lot of people to show up because they have very genuine relationships. Problem with yellows is they're super sensitive, unbelievably sensitive. So in other words, if you say to a yellow, hey, listen, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, it's like, oh my gosh, they take it personally, like, oh, it's just the way they are. They have very thin skin. Reds have thick skin. Reds have like rhino skin. You could shoot a rhino and it wouldn't even know it. Their thin skin is so thick it hardly even knows you were there. You go up to a yellow with a teeny tiny, maybe with a really sharp leaf or something, and prick their skin and they start bleeding. It's just the reality of the way things are. So when you're dealing with the yellow, as we'll talk about later, you got to be very careful about the way you do things, because a red processes something quickly and then they're on. If you say, hey, you did that wrong, a red's like, yeah, okay, no problem, thanks, bye, and they move on. They don't dwell on it. They don't go, oh my gosh, they don't care. They just move on to the next thing, where a yellow will spend weeks going, geez, maybe he doesn't like me, maybe she doesn't like me, da 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 da, and they have all this internal garbage. They're making a mountain out of a molehill in their own mind. Super duper sensitive. Not only that, here's the biggest thing I've ever seen that's a problem with yellows, is they have a tendency to buy other people's reasons and excuses. So where they'll go up to someone and say, hey, we'd really like you to get to this advanced seminars. The big seminars are where people really make big decisions, has a huge impact. We've tracked, the people go in those programs make 5 times bigger bonus checks than the people who don't. And the other person goes, well, I'd like to go, but I can't afford it. And the yellow's like, oh, okay. In other words, yellows don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Now, once again, let's go back to a red for a moment. Same thing. A red goes, hey man, you got to get to this program. This is important. The people go make more money. You want to make money. We got to get you this program. And they're going, well, I'd like to go, but I don't have the money. A red will say something like, you know what? If you don't have the money now, you're never going to have the money if you don't change something that's going on. Figure out a way to get the money, to get to the program, so you no longer have to sit here and say, I don't have the money. Do you like not having the money? It stinks not having the money. You see what I'm saying? A red is not going to buy someone's reason or excuse. They're going to let them know why it's important for them to do whatever it is, where a yellow is much more likely to not want to confront someone. A red's like, hey, if you're in my group, great. If you're not going to do the right things, what do I need you around for anyway? way. A yellow's like, oh, I don't want to take a chance on saying something harsh to someone. They might not like me. They might quit. You follow what I'm saying? Very significant differences there. But as I've already shared with you, yellows have so many strengths. People love them. They're amazing team players. They do things for the greater good. They are so really loving this company just because of what we do through the Manifest Foundation. If nothing else, seeing people come together and going on vacations they've never gone on before. My gosh, that's the kind of stuff that the yellows absolutely love. It's not the deep discounts you get on a trip. It's the fellowship you have on the trips and at the trainings that really turn a yellow on. So we are so blessed to have yellow people in this world, and certainly blessed to have them in our company. Okay, now the next group are the blues. I'm sorry, I'm used to pausing for about 15 seconds there because every time we're at a live seminar and we say the blues, they all, they scream and yell and cheer for themselves. It's the funniest thing ever. Blues are the ones that make life worth living. They are the fun people. They bring the fun to the party. As a matter of fact, they're always in party mode. They want things to be exciting. They like to have fun. They like to laugh. They don't like to be bored. They don't like things that are monotonous. They don't like people that are overbearing. Blues are followers. They're natural followers, but they'll only follow you if we're having fun, if you treat them nice. They're a lot of ways like a yellow in that they're relationship driven. Tone of voice can really turn a yellow or a blue off in a big way, but they're just fun. You know, they're seeking fun. They're going for fun. They're very short-term thinkers. They do not think about the consequences of their actions at all. They're the spontaneous groups. They're the ones that go, hey, it's Thursday. You know, there's a big national training this weekend in New York and we're in LA. Do you want to go? And they're like, yeah, let's go. They'll just do anything at the drop of a hat. If it sounds like it's going to be fun, great. If you're trying to get someone to do our business who's blue, tell them about the trips. Let them know how much fun it's going to be. Show them pictures. Do all that stuff. That's what's going to get a blue. Show them that you're trying to get them to a seminar. Tell them how much fun it's going to be. Once again, show them pictures of past seminars. Go to Facebook and just show them everyone's pictures from the events and what a great time we have doing stuff and how it's very entertaining and how they're going to meet all these great people and what you're going to do on Friday and Saturday night and all that kind of good stuff. See, they are definitely not focused on long-term outcomes. If you go to a blue and say, listen, this is all about passive residual income. If you put in a lot of hard work now, down the road, 3 to 5 years from now, you can have thousands of dollars coming in every month, whether you're working or not. A blue's like. A blue wants to know, what do I make by the weekend? Because I want to go out this weekend. I need to have some fun. I got to have a few drinks with my buddies. You follow what I'm saying? They are not long-term thinkers at all. They're the ones that are always late for everything. It's not because they're rude. See, a lot of you may be dating a blue, or you have a brother or sister who's a blue, or a child who's blue, and you think they're being rude and disrespectful because they're late. It's not that. Once again, that's what this video is all about. Their natural tendency is they don't pay attention to the clock. You know what I mean? If it comes down to being on time or getting their hair exactly right or getting their outfit exactly right, they're going to definitely show up late. And it's not out of disrespect. That's just the way they are. They get sidetracked very, very, very easily. I guess this would be a group more than anything that we'd say are a little ADD. They're all over the place. But man, are they fun to be around. Man, do they bring life to the party. We have a ton of them in World Ventures. Whenever you go on a dream trip, these are the people that make dream trips memorable because they're always seeking adventure and looking to have a blast. And they attract people like a magnet. So they're amazing. But with a blue, if you're going to be blue and do the business, you got to learn some discipline. The best thing about being in network marketing is you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. But the worst thing about doing network marketing is you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. So if you're a blue, you got to learn how to follow a system, at least to some degree. You never need to make this business, like your job, monotonous and boring, but you've got to have some level of functioning that you're following a plan, okay? And if you're blue and you're bringing people into your business, you got to understand that you've got to give them some sort of structure. You can't just go, hey, let's just have fun. You know, let's just bring in people. Okay, that's not enough detail, especially for greens, which we're going to get to here in a moment. So blues like to have fun. Blues give them short-term goals, look to make immediate cash. You need to build their confidence. They don't necessarily have tons of confidence. They do have a lot of optimism, though. They always believe tomorrow is going to be a great day. So if you're a a strong leader, they will follow you as long as you're treating them nicely. We want blues in business. Make the business fun, treat them well, and you'll have tons of them around. And they, as I said, are like magnets, and they will help bring all sorts of other people into your business. Okay, our final group are the greens, okay? And the greens are kind of opposite of the blues, very much like the reds and the yellows were opposite. Blues and greens have a lot of differences as well. Okay, the greens are certainly the most cerebral of all the groups. They think things through. They like things to be organized. They are not spontaneous at all. They don't like doing anything at the spur of the moment. Everything's planned out. As I said earlier, if you went to a blue and said, hey, put in a lot of work right now, 3 to 5 years from now, you could have a couple $1,000s a month, that's a horrible presentation to a blue. But to a green, that's a phenomenal presentation. Are you kidding me? It's very logical. Greens understand that you've got to put a lot of work in the beginning. They just understand these things. They've studied businesses. They've done tons of research. So if you give a green a lot of hype, it turns them off. The emotion and hype are not things that greens are real into at all. They like facts and figures. They like logical arguments. They like to get as much information as they can. And if you tell them it may take you 5 years to build up the income you want, but 5 years from now, if you had a passive residual income of a couple $1,000s a month coming in and a very high percentage of your customers that kept the product because of X, Y, and Z reasons, isn't that worth working towards? And you can keep your job right now so you have zero risk. That's the sort of thing that will get a green. Now, when you get a green in, understand you've got to give them a precise game plan to follow. They need a game plan. Once again, a blue can't bring in a green and go, hey, just bring people in. You know, it's like, well, bring them in where? When? How many people should I bring at one time? Greens have a bazillion questions. So you want to give them, first of all, a schedule. You should be working these hours on these days. This is what our objective is. You know, we want to go to your first 10 people, and we want to go and try to have coffee with your 10 best prospects. Just a little 2-on-1 within the first 7 days. Just give them specific tasks, because if you don't, they're going to be a mess. The biggest problem with the green is paralysis by overanalysis. Greens feel they're the ones that are perfectionists, so they don't want to do anything until they know the answer to everything. And that's where blues do have an advantage sometimes on a green, because a blue is ready, fire, aim. Whereas a green is like, I've got to have all my ducks in a row. I want to know all the questions someone asked me. I want to know all the details about every dream trip. And you know what? While you're gathering all your information, a blue who's not even thinking about that stuff may already have 50 customers and 100 people on their team because they just went out and made stuff happen. Okay, so I'm not saying either one of them is right or wrong. I'm just saying, as a green, if you're a green, don't put everything off until you have all the answers. I have been doing network marketing for over 20 years, and I don't have all the answers. If I waited till I have all the answers, I wouldn't have lasted a month in a business. Just go out and start making things happen. You can be far from perfect. You can be very imperfect, but still make lots of money in our business. And I know you want to get educated. We have tons of training available. We have lots of information available online. Get your information. Get your plan to follow. We'll make sure that's all taken care of, but don't overdo it. Does that make sense? And greens are also sometimes a little skeptical of people. They're the most quote-unquote realistic of everybody. Greens don't deal with a lot of faith. Okay, the yellows are the ones that have tons and tons of faith. I'm talking spiritual, but just general faith in general, faith in fellow man. Greens are much more sarcastic and skeptical. They're much more scientific. You know what I mean? So there's just differences. Once again, you can see that all four groups have differences with other groups. It's not that just blues and greens are different. Blues definitely have differences with reds, and greens have them with yellows, and on and on. You're starting to get the idea here, but I'm just trying to give you the four main groups right now. Greens are great. Greens are great at follow-up. The fortune so many times is in the follow-up. So there's a lot of natural traits that make greens phenomenal at doing business in general. But as I said, they're not necessarily the most personable. They don't necessarily understand that building relationships is very, very, very important. Greens are not naturally relationship people. Greens like to be on their own more so. They would like to, you know, read or just kind of not be into the social flow of things. Greens are the ones that in a relationship, relationship, are not into public displays of affection, there's just certain things that make them uncomfortable, just like there's certain things that do make them comfortable. But if you give them facts and figures, you give them a plan to follow, and you don't make them be overly social, and you don't give them hype and all that junk, then you can get lots of them on your team and get lots of production at them. So now you've got the basic for all 4 groups. Now is when this is going to start getting really fun. Okay, now we're going to learn how to identify people's colors, and this is really where the rubber meets the road. This is where you've got to learn this, folks, period. This is the only thing you must learn, because you can't be giving people the test. You got to be able to identify them on the spot, and I'm going to give you so many triggers, and there's so many triggers in your workbook and on the audios. You just got to study. This is the part you've got to learn, and then once you learn, boom, you shift to be exactly what's going to make them most comfortable, and it becomes so simple to get people on your side and doing what you're asking them to do. It really is almost magical. So let's just go ahead and learn how to do this stuff. So we start off, I want to give you, before I get into everything, I'm going to give you all 4 groups here, but I'm going to give them to you in a certain way, because when it came to identifying early on, this helped me a lot. Okay, reds, because that's our first group, are formal and aggressive. Formal, aggressive for reds. Yellows, as we said, which are very opposite of reds, are informal and passive. So reds are formal and aggressive. Yellows are informal and passive. So what I'm saying is reds dress more formal. Their appearance is more formal. Their behavior is aggressive. Yellows have a tendency to be informal and passive. Then we go to blues. The blues are informal and aggressive. Okay, and then last but not least, the greens are formal and passive. So if you study just that right there, and that's all I was going to tell you about appearance and attitude, as far as the 4 groups go, that is the first triggers that I learned. As a matter of fact, those were pretty much the only triggers I learned for a while, and it really, I was able to start identifying people pretty doggone accurately with just that stuff right there. But let's go much, much further. Let's talk about reds in general. Okay, now the reds are going to be, remember, formal and aggressive. So now I don't want to confuse you right from the get-go. I have a nice dress shirt on, but it's untucked. See, for many years that would be considered not formal. That would be informal. In today's world, that's not necessarily the case. A lot of people are obviously not wearing suits and ties to business every day. And, you know, I mean, they can even untuck their shirts in an office environment and it's acceptable. That's just the way things are right now. Just remember, the reds, when you see someone wearing a suit or tie and they don't need to, that's a clear sign to red. When you see someone wearing dress shoes even though they could be wearing tennis shoes, that's a sign they're a red. In general, reds are going to wear designer stuff. Okay, whenever you can wear something that's nicer, more expensive, and better than everyone else's stuff, that's just the way it is. Virtually everything I wear is some kind of an Italian or French designer. And I told you earlier, a lot of reds are insecure, and that's why we do it. But that's just, we like to look really good. Not trendy, not flashy, but we like to look stylish and classy would be the best word I could possibly share with you as far as a red goes. You know, all my suits are either Brioni or Palzolari. I just bought a coat recently. It was Laura Piana. I mean, once again, I could have gotten any kind of a winter coat, but I had to buy one that was like $7,000 or $8,000 just because that's what a red does, man. It's all about label and status and all that kind of good stuff. Even when I'm wearing casual stuff, it's always Nike. For me to wear a pair of sweatpants or a red in general, to wear a pair of sweatpants that has no quality logo, and we won't just wear a logo. I mean, I'm not going to wear Russell Athletic stuff, no disrespect to them, but that's not an elite level. See, when a red goes to a bar, they don't order a gin and tonic, they order a Tanqueray and tonic. They don't order a beer, they order a Heineken. Now, why are you telling us this? This is how you identify a red. Everything's got to be brand name. Okay, they drive a Mercedes, they drive a Porsche, they drive something elitist. That's the way it is. Now, sometimes you find a broke red. That's okay, but believe me, whenever a red can have something, when back in the day when I couldn't afford hardly anything, I did have a cross pen. Now, you may laugh at that and go, geez, cross pens only cost whatever, $50. Yes, but that was the only way I could identify that I was, you know, someone special. Look at my pen. You know what I mean? I look back at it now, it's kind of comical. But in general, reds are trying to impress you. Hairstyles are short and professional. A lot of the gals are going to have a look with their hair that you would think an anchor woman on TV would have. So, you know, very important triggers I'm giving you here is how to identify a red. Reds, when they shake your hand, may break it. You're going to know they're shaking your hand. Reds will not get real close to you. Reds and greens like to have a space between you and them. They'll extend their hand. They just don't like getting people too close to them. Reds are just funny that way. You know, sometimes when you're playing ball, you slap your buddy on the butt, nice shot. Reds don't like that stuff. Reds don't like people getting too close to them. That's just the way it is. But real strong, real firm handshake. Once again, everything's sort of professional. Okay, reds talk loud. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the section I did on reds, you'll notice I was talking loud the whole time because I was being a red. And then when I was talking as the yellows, I was talking in a much softer tone of voice because that's the way yellows are. So once again, as a red, they're loud. They're talking fast, 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 fast. Go, 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 go. And mostly listen to the content of their character. They're talking about things. They're talking about making money. They're talking about winning. They're talking about borderline, maybe ethical behavior. Well, you know, to heck with that guy. We just got to win. You know, I don't care how long he's been with us. Things like that. You know what I mean? It's real easy. Reds must keep score. You know, someone goes, oh, it doesn't matter whether we win or lose. It's how you play the game. That's a yellow. A red's like, yeah, then why do we have a scoreboard? You know what I'm saying? They want to keep score, and they don't just want to win. They want to crush their opponent. Years ago, I was watching something on ESPN about Iowa wrestling, if you know anything about that. Dan Gable, they won like 10, 12 national championships in a row, and they were talking to an Iowa wrestler who was obviously a red, and he goes, when we wrestle the first period of a 3-period match, we want to hurt our opponents so badly. We want to take away their spirit so they don't even have the will to even wrestle the last 2 periods. We want to break their spirit in half. That's a red thing to say. That is certainly not what a yellow is saying. As a matter of fact, the yellow was cringing when they were hearing me talk about that stuff. So I've given you a bunch of triggers to identify reds. They're loud. They may show up late. Okay? Blues and reds are the ones that show up late. Why? Because reds, the world revolves around us, so you're lucky we showed up in the first place, and we're very much doers. So when it comes to time management, a lot of times we're trying to fit 10 hours into an 8-hour day, so we have a tendency to be running late for things. That's just the way it is. Bottom line. Okay, so blues are late, of course, because they don't pay attention to time. But if someone shows up late, there's a good shot their predominant color is blue or red. If they're loud, it's another good shot that they're blue or red. If they crush your hand, it's a real good shot they're red. Now, this has all happened within seconds. Before they maybe even open their mouth, you've been able to identify because they showed up late, because they crushed your hand, and then if they start talking in a loud tone of voice, that's a good giveaway right there. Everything's designer, the kind of car they show up and all that stuff, and reds always keep their stuff clean. Even if I used to have a beat up car, an old car, but man, it was clean all the time. You come to my house, my closet is clean and organized all the time. You might think that's a green trait, and certainly greens do that as well, but reds like to have our stuff looking good. It's important to have stuff, but we don't like things messy. We like our stuff to look good at all times. So that's a bunch of different ways that you can identify that you're dealing with a red. Now, when we're dealing with a yellow, totally different deal. Yellows are very soft-spoken, very passive. That's the biggest key there is the tone of voice. Yellows do not wear expensive designer stuff. They're the exact opposite. Yellows are not trying to impress anybody with anything. Remember, they have a tendency to be more informal. Certainly someone who's wearing Birkenstocks or someone who's wearing, you know, gosh, just more informal stuff. Timberland, you know, clothes like that. They have a tendency to love the outdoors a lot more, okay? They'll talk about that stuff. They're going to talk about volunteering for things. They're not talking about brand name alcohols. They'll just, oh, just give me a beer, you know, oh, just give me a glass of wine. They're not real specific about what their needs are in general. You'll hear them talking about other people a lot. Yellows don't talk negatively about other people, though. You see, if someone's talking about someone else and are sniping him, good shot, it's a red. Someone's talking about someone else and they're building them up and speaking favorably of them, there's a good chance that they're a yellow. Okay, yellows, when they greet you, will get real close to you. Remember how reds don't get real close? Yellows have a tendency to get very close to you. They may even hug you the first time they met you or kiss you on the cheeks, even though they just met you. They're very warm. The tone of their voice is very warm. They're just friendly, nice, wonderful people. They show up on time because they're very concerned about you. They're considerate. So the odds are they're not going to show up late. So they show up on time. They're soft-spoken. They get very close to you. They talk about other people's things. They have a tendency to have longer hair. Okay, a woman with long hair, a non-professional haircut, and certainly the guys who have the long hair and the ponytails, the turquoise jewelry, the non-expensive jewelry, that's all very yellow type stuff. Once again, more informal and more passive. Now let's move on to the blues. Blues are so easy to spot. They're bright, they're loud, they're trendy. They're late, they're definitely showing up late. When they show up, they're the ones that are getting real close on you. Those are the ones that are giving you the handshake, like you're in a fraternity, like, hey, give it up, hey brother. They use a lot of slang. What up? How you doing, man? Pounding their chest, doing all that kind of stuff. That's very, very, very blue. And you'd be surprised. I know blues that are in their 40s and 50s and even 60s that are still greeting their friends like what I just described. And they're still using slang expressions. That's real obvious that you're dealing with someone's blue. They're loud, loud, loud. And they have a tendency to definitely show up late. And they have a tendency to get off the conversation all the time. They have a tendency to almost come across like they're rude. But they're not really rude. They just don't have the greatest attention spans in the world. Does that make sense? So very, very easy to identify. Trendy. Trendy hairstyles, lots of mousse or gel in their hair for sure. Trendy clothing, not really expensive or classy clothing, but stuff that's in style right now. Watches that are in style right now. Sunglasses that are in style right now. If someone's got wild colors in their hair, male or female, chances are very strong that they're a blue. They're just happy. They're bubbly. Remember, they're very optimistic. They're telling jokes. They don't seem real serious about anything. I think it's going to be pretty doggone simple for most of you to identify who a blue is. And then last but not least is green. Now, best way I could tell you to describe a green is if nothing really jumps out at you about their appearance, chances are they're green. They have no real defined kind of hairstyle. It's untrendy. It's certainly not trendy. They really dress in non-designer stuff for sure. See, once again, a green looks at my watch and goes, what kind of a moron would spend that much money on a watch? I can get a Timex that works just as good, and I could take the money you spend on that, put it in an investment, and I could put my kids through college. And you know what? You're right. I'm not disagreeing with that. But that's what I'm saying. You're rarely going to see a green with anything like this. The only real expensive stuff like that they buy is if it's an asset and it's going to appreciate in value. But for the most part, greens pride themselves on buying things that are really, really great discounts. They're definitely discount shoppers. They love that kind of stuff. Remember, they're way more formal than a yellow, but they're not trendy and they're not overly classy with their appearance and with their attire and stuff like that. They just aren't, bottom line, they're just not that concerned about their appearance. Now, will they show up on time? Yes, because everything is being run by the clock and by the schedule. So yellows and greens are on time. Reds and blues are usually late. When they go to shake your hand, remember they're going to keep a distance. They're not going to be using slang expressions and, hey, what up, dog? They're not going to be doing that stuff. They're going to have some space. They're going to shake your hand, but they're not going to crush it like a red. So once again, I love this because, once again, are they showing up on time and how they greet you with handshakes and stuff like that, and then just listen to the tone of their voice. The tone of a green's voice is much more like a yellow. It's not loud like a red or a blue. It's much softer, and they are talking about details, organization. They're not spontaneous. They don't like surprises. They have a tendency to be more skeptical and a little bit less trusting and things along those lines. So that's a real easy way to be able to tell who you're dealing with as far as a green. So now you've got some really good triggers for all four people. When it comes to, once again, where you want to go to eat, greens want a discount, reds want to be in the most expensive place in town, blues will go pretty much anywhere as long as it's a festive attitude. You follow what I'm saying? There's all these different triggers of things. The types of music people like, all these things are just obvious, you know what I mean, when you start identifying and understanding different types of people. Now, there's way more information in your booklet on this, and I'm telling you, this is the part you really want to study. Because once you identify who people are, now it's time for you to become a chameleon and getting results. Okay, now that we know how to identify or read people instantly, now here's the part where this turns into dollars into your bank account. So, let's get started. How do I move a red to action? With a red, I've got to focus mostly, if I'm doing a one-on-one presentation, I'm focusing mostly on a compensation plan. That's just the bottom line. I'm focusing on the big picture as to them being able to have financial freedom, having the ability to have their own business, do their own thing, not have a boss, be in charge. Certainly I'm going to talk about the product a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the company a little bit, but I'm going to really limit that part of the presentation and focus my time and attention on their ability to sell our product, recruit and build a sales team, and make big money. That's what they want to know about. When I'm dealing with a red, I've got to be strong and firm. I cannot be wimpy. Okay, so I'm going to talk in a louder tone of voice if that's my natural deal. They want to follow someone. They want to know, why should they follow you? Who are you and why should I follow you? Now, if you have a track record, if you do, you just go, look, here's my results. And I know some are going to, I'm being too boastful. No, you're not. You need to be strong with the red. So here's the results I've got. Here's the people I've worked with. So if you plug in and do exactly what they've done, there's no reason why you can't get where you want to get in this thing. But what if you don't have the results yet? What if you're sitting there going, well, I've been doing it for a while and I'm not doing that good? Then let them know who in your upline, in your management team you're connected to, and say, my gosh, I am only a few levels below this amazing distributor. You know, you'd be so lucky to work with Dave and Yvette Yulo. They're two of the finest people in our company. I'm connected to them. Everything I teach you and show you is going to be what they've taught me. And if you produce X amount of volume, I'll get you connected to them. See, reds want to meet the top people right away. They already consider themselves elite, so they want to be around the top people. Never let a red get in touch with someone who's a top person until they get results. Let them know that, you know, you'll be more than glad to connect them to the right person, but they've got to get results. Challenge a red, okay? Say, listen, David Peach, as we make this video, he's got to IMD part-time, faster than anyone in the history of the company. 10 months part-time while he was running a very busy chiropractic clinic and had very little time. He went from nothing to IMD in 10 months. Do you think you can beat that record? What I'll also say to a red is, hey, I really want you to come to the presentation on Thursday night, because the bottom line is, you know, I'm looking for people in my group who can do presentations. I know that you would be great at that, so I don't want you to just come and get the information. I want you to also let me know how quickly you could see yourself doing presentations like that. Or, listen, you know, I've got some people on my team that I could start sticking underneath. I need someone to put some people on my team. I know you've got great management skills, so if you get started with me, I'll be more than glad to get some people on your team right away if you're going to really get busy with this thing. So there's a lot of different things you can say, but when it comes from push comes to shove, and when you're trying to get the bottom line, the sign of bottom line, give Reg options, not opinions. You do not want to tell them what to do. That is very, very important. You want to say, so, do you want to go ahead and get both products and go to the regionals coming up, or do you want to just start off maybe getting the products? You know what I mean? It's your call. Do you want to dive into this thing full-time, or you just want to start off part-time? Whatever it might be, give them options. Do not tell them what to do. That will chase them away. Now, if you're really brave and you want to play reverse psychology and you really want to have fun with the red, tell them the opposite of what you want them to do. And in a lot of cases, they'll actually rebel against you and do the opposite. So that technique could work. But if you're new at this, I wouldn't mess around with that. I would just say, Mr. Red, what do you think? And also compliment them. Let them know how wonderful they are. Let them know how amazing they would be, what a great leader they would be. They fall for flattery. Now, don't give them false flattery. Be sincere, but build up their egos. Challenge them to break records, and then give them an option. You should be in really good shape. So that's all great stuff for moving a red to action. With a yellow, yellows, you need to lower your tone of voice. You need to be very genuine. They need to know that you care about them. Listen to some of the things they told you are important in their life. Okay? With a red, you're showing them the big picture, how it's going to be, you know, Oh my gosh, imagine when we're in a stadium with 60,000 people at an annual convention and you're working across the stage as one of the top 20 income earners and you're getting a bonus check for X amount of dollars and everyone's screaming your name. That's the big picture to a red. To a yellow, the big picture is imagine you come to our deal. We have 60,000 people in a stadium. Manifest Foundation is handing over a check years from now for $1 million to this organization, and we're going to go out and build this many bottle schools, or in Big Brother Big Sister, we're going to help this many children get off a waiting list because of World Ventures. We're going to affect that many people's lives. That's the big picture to a yellow. So show them the big picture. Let them know this is the company with a heart. Let them know that you care about other people, that we're going to get other people on your team, only the ones that this is the right thing for them. We're going to help people who could never afford vacations go on vacations. Lead them where you're going, but do it nicely. They want to follow you, but they won't follow you if they don't like you and trust you. Lower the tone of your voice. Talk slower. Instead of putting them on a super aggressive path, put them on a slower path to get them started. Because let me tell you something. Once a yellow gets traction and falls in love with this company, they say it doesn't matter when you get in World Ventures. What matters is when World Ventures gets in you. And when World Ventures gets inside a yellow, they could outproduce a red in a heartbeat because it's so, they're consumed by what's going on because they believe in a big picture of the company. Very important stuff. Now, once again, a lot of the stuff I just said, don't even mention it to a red. The red doesn't really even care about the Manifest Foundation. They care about their own future. Okay, the blues are the ones who, once again, are followers, so you have to tell them what to do, but just do it very nicely. And remember, it's all about fun, 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 fun. No detail. When you're doing the business, you're not focusing, I told you earlier with the red, you want to focus on a comp plan. With the yellows and blues, don't get all focused on a comp plan. Focus on the trips and how much fun we have and how much fellowship we have and all that kind of good stuff. When you're talking about the trainings, once again, how much fun it is, how you get to meet people, it's all about relationship and fellowship and all that kind of good stuff. Once again, that doesn't matter to a red, really matters to a yellow, really matters to a blue. With a blue, I'm just saying, look, just do what I ask you to do. This will be very simple. What I recommend you do is this and that. Okay, that's how I talk to a yellow and a blue. I recommend you do this and that. If they like you and trust you, they'll follow you. They're both natural born followers, but remember, you've got to be real likable. Don't get focused on, don't give a blue the old speech on, you know what, this is going to be hard. There's going to be hell to pay, but in the end, we're going to win. Don't do that, man. If a blue thinks there's going to be hell to pay, they're just not going to get in the first place. They don't want to go through that. They want to have fun. They don't want to make sacrifices. They don't want to know about the struggle and the dream, the struggle, and the prize. They just want to know about the dream and the prize. So just keep it light, keep it fun. Don't overwhelm them with massive expectations. Let them know they can make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. They can go on some amazing trips, have a blast, meet a whole new group of social people. But once again, say what I would recommend you do is why don't we go ahead, get you both products, but also let's get you registered for this next big national training we have coming up in about 2 weeks. It's going to be a blast. You meet all these wonderful people. That sounds great, doesn't it? Okay, just tell them where to go. Just do it very nicely. And keep it simple, keep it basic, no details. Okay? Now the greens, last but not least, are the ones who want the green tail. That's a new word, maybe. They want the details. So with the green, I'm not going to hype anything. I'm not going to exaggerate anything. And I'm not saying you should hype and exaggerate anything anyway. No hype, no exaggeration, no emotion. See, with certain people with yellows, and maybe even a little bit with reds maybe, but especially with yellows and blues, emotion gets them. If they see someone doing a testimonial and they tear up a little bit, or they hear a moving story, that really moves a yellow and a blue. That does nothing for a green. If anything, that makes a green feel uncomfortable. And when people feel uncomfortable, they have a tendency not to buy. So no hype, no emotion, no exaggeration, just factual. And the language I use when I'm talking to a green is going to be, this is logical, isn't it? Very systematic. We have a great system that you can follow. Just come in and follow our proven system. I'm going to use words that are going to resonate with that person. Once again, when I'm talking to a yellow, I'm talking about a company that cares and has compassion, has a heart, doing our best for mankind. When I'm talking to reds, I'm talking about we're going to do this fast, we can do big things, we can make lots of money. When I'm talking to blues, I'm telling how much fun it's going to be and how exciting it's going to be. The words, a couple of select words you use here and there make all the difference as well. So once again, getting back to the greens, I'm just going to lay it out and show a green. Listen, this may not take on overnight. You've got your job. job. Once again, keep your job. Why would you not do that? So you have no risk or virtually no risk here. It's a limited amount of money to get started. Even if you buy both products, it's a very limited amount. Imagine how much it would cost you to run a business where you have all the assets that World Ventures does. Accounting departments, the employees we have, the web development we have. I mean, that would cost you, I don't know, hundreds of thousands up front probably, if not millions, and it would cost you tens of thousands of dollars a month at least. Over here, you're paying your $10 or $12, whatever it is a month, to become a rep and to maintain your rep status, and that's it. I mean, isn't that remarkable? So you can have a business running with very minimal investment, and your ROI, which Greens know that means return on investment, can be much, much higher because, once again, you have very low cost of doing business. And even if it took you 2 or 3 years to build up a passive residual income of $2,000 a month, imagine 2 years from now, you could take that $2,000 a month, you could put that into investments. Imagine what kind of an investment portfolio you could have if, with this business, we created an extra $2,000 a month, you could put it solely into investments. What could your net worth be 20 years from now? That's a great argument for a green. That is not a great argument, though, for a blue. You get the point? So I think you understand all the deal. Do not tell a green what to do, and do not push a green. Okay? You can gently push a blue and a yellow. You should not push a red or a green. Those are simple, basic facts about moving people to action. So this is very important. Now you know how to read people. Now you know how to move them to action. You are well on your way to building the dream team that you've always wanted to have in World Ventures. Okay, so now you've gotten customers and you've gotten people on your team. So how do you lead these people? How do you manage these people? So there's a lot more information in the booklet. Once again, I want to make sure you're getting some of this right now as well. So let's talk about if I'm dealing with a red, if I'm going to correct a red or tell them what to do, I've got to realize there's an ego issue there. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and I'm not going to nitpick anything that's not really important. If they're doing something really wrong, I'm going to use a sandwich approach. Compliment them, fix the problem, and compliment them again. That's great with anyone, but it's really important you do that with a red. Then if I want to inspire a red, okay, so I told you how to fix them or correct them, but to inspire them, challenge them, and definitely give them recognition when they've done something meaningful. That's important with everyone. There's an expression, celebrate what you want to duplicate, but really celebrate a red, because if you don't celebrate a red after they've done something big, they'll leave. I've seen people quit because they didn't think they were getting respected enough by their upline. So you want to definitely, without a doubt, challenge them and always push them, because that's what's going to inspire them. And you always need to be leading the way. If you want to have the full respect of a red, you've got to be setting the pace and making it happen yourself. As far as a yellow goes, if you're trying to correct them, remember they're overly sensitive. So you got to be really nice. The tone of your voice has to be you got to say, listen, if I'm going to say something to you, I know how much you're doing this business. I know how much you want to work. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. I just want to let you know you did this and this wrong. Now, no big deal. I know you're going to get better. I know you didn't do it on purpose. You just got to soften as much as possible. Now, if you yell at a yellow, if you yell at them, they're like Charlie Brown's teacher. That's what they hear. Remember how Charlie Brown's teachers go, wah, wah. That's what the kids heard. Wah, 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 wah. That's all the yellow hears when you yell at them. So if you're a red and you're a screamer and you yell at them, it makes you feel good. But first of all, they're going to walk around carrying that with them for months and months. Oh my God, he doesn't like me. I'm a loser. Not what you want. What you want is you want to fix the problem. They're not going to hear you if you yell at them. So once again, it's a classic example of being a chameleon. Don't do what makes you feel right. Do what's best for them. My daughter is very yellow. I had to learn this when she was 2 or 3 years old. I would tell her to do something. She wouldn't do it and make me angry. And I'd yell even more. And then I realized she wasn't even hearing me. When I started communicating with her like this, and if anything, instead of me telling her how bad she was, I just told her the truth. I held up a mirror and showed her what she did wrong. Her own inner guilt was so intense that I never have to raise my voice with my oldest daughter. I just have to tell her the truth about what's going on, and she fixes it herself. So very important, don't be overly critical of a yellow. They'll take it too personally. Make sure you always let them know how much you care about them. Then when you're trying to inspire them, Don't push them for personal goals. Always show them how they're making World Ventures better or the team better. We're trying to get so-and-so to get a promotion. If you can pull your weight, that would be huge. It's a big deal for them, that kind of stuff. Show them the big picture, what World Ventures is doing to make the planet a better place. That's how you inspire and motivate them. As far as a blue goes, with a blue, if you're going to correct them, remember, don't be harsh and nasty, kind of like what I just said with the yellow. And don't be overly detailed. And don't harp on the same thing again and again and again. Just tell them, even though you think they're not listening to you, just tell them as best you can and then move on, okay? Don't overdo it, and don't make going to work be unfun, and don't yell at them all the time, because even if they're making money, they'll be gone. They do not want to be yelled at. They are independent reps here. They don't have to put up with your garbage. You're not their boss. They're not on a salary, so don't yell at them. As far as inspiring them, give them really short-term objectives to hit and reward them with social things. Take them to a ball game. Take them out for a drink. Do fun things. Show that you care and that you want to have a personal relationship with them, and set up incentive trips and stuff like that. Oh my gosh. We're in a travel company. Blues, a lot of them come here because of the travel. And last but not least are the greens. The greens, in order to correct them, just be logical. Tell them the truth. Don't yell, don't hype, and don't micromanage them. Don't look over the shoulder, and don't remind them of the same thing 4, 5, 6, 8 times. That drives a green completely insane. Okay, so just keep a normal tone of voice. Don't get real intense or emotional. Tell them the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't beat around the bush with a red or with a green. Just get down to it. If you're going to do a little bush beating, do it with a blue, do it with a yellow, but don't do it with a green or red, because it will irritate them. Just tell them what's going on. Be real about it, and everything will be good. Tell them this is how you get better. Be logical about it. You'll be fine. And as far as inspiring them, give them a really good plan of action to follow, and they'll follow it, and just keep making logical statements to them. Keep showing them how it's not about necessarily making $100,000 a month, but it's how they can make some good money here and then invest it into their future and do things the right way, and how they can take control of their life, and how they can totally manage their schedule, and how they don't have to have a boss. Those kinds of things are really big to a green. Greens want their independence and their time. Everyone does, but greens really, really want that kind of stuff. So that's how to work with these people, how to correct them, and how to inspire them. And that brings us to our last chapter. So we've really taught you the most important lesson so far, and just to make sure that lesson is clear, you're a chameleon. That's why we're using colors. You can find your inner child some other time. Come to one of our personal development programs like The View. But the bottom line is, it's not about finding your inner child. It's about you understanding yourself only to the degree that you understand what your natural tendencies are, so therefore you understand how you have to adapt to deal with other people. Most people go through their whole life and they don't get rich because they want to be right. Everything's got to be their way. We're going to get wealthy by following this system because we let other people be right. We talk in their tone of voice. If I know I'm going to a meeting with a yellow, I'll dress like a yellow does. I'm going to do everything to make them feel as comfortable as I humanly possibly can. It's all about them. That's the primary mission. So you become a chameleon and blend into whoever you're dealing with as best you possibly can. That's the main lesson here. That's the big aha moment, and that's how you're going to make more money. You're going to be swimming with the tide. Everything's going to be better. Your relationships, your earnings, the whole deal, if you learn that lesson. But now let's give you a bonus lesson. In your workbook, you're going to find that each of the 4 colors has typical, dysfunctional, and highly functioning. And what you really need to do is you need to go through that page in detail and be genuine with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. Hold up a mirror and say, which of these 3 categories am I most like? If you start off and you go, wow, I'm dysfunctional. I mean, as a red, I'm dysfunctional, meaning I'm demanding, I'm super self-centered, I'm intolerant to anyone else. The world revolves around me, I'm caustic, I'm bitter, whatever is on that list. You got to stop for a minute and once again, just understand, do you want to go to your grave with everyone thinking those things about you? When I first started off, I was like, wow, reds have great strengths, but man, do they have bad weaknesses. The last thing I want to be is a dysfunctional red. So then your goal is to work your way up to typical. Don't try to leapfrog all the way up to highly functioning. People always say, Mark, I want to get better. And then they go, so should I become a red? Remember, stay who you are. This is all unconscious, okay? And according to Hippocrates, it has to deal with all the bile and fluids in your butt. So I don't know you can change your yellow bile. I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding, right? I'm sarcastic. I'm a smart aleck, if you will. But my point is true. Don't get the point. Don't try to change who you are. You are who you are unconsciously. You have likes and dislikes. Trying to change those things is just a losing battle. What you do want to do is say, I am a yellow. So I'm going to work on my weaknesses. I am going to focus on not being a dysfunctional yellow. And I'm going to look at all the traits of be a highly functioning yellow. And I'm going to try to get up there as best I can. And you should go back and look at that workbook and evaluate yourself at least once a quarter, 4 times a year, if not more frequently than that. Because, folks, knowing something is irrelevant. Doing it consistently is what matters. So if today you can look at it and say, yes, I'm a highly functioning blue. I really am. Even though I have a tendency to be late, I'm very mindful and respect of people, and I'm almost always on time. You know what I mean? I'm a very highly functioning blue. Even though I get bored easily, I can do some menial tasks and not let my blueness get the best of me. I can stay the course and do things even if they're not fun and exciting. I'm a highly functioning blue. But if 6 months from now you go back and look at it and go, whoa, I've slipped all the way back to dysfunctional, that's just a place for you to make a self-correction. If you will, go to the chiropractor and get an adjustment. The difference is no one can give you a personality adjustment. You've got to give it to yourself. This information is so valuable. So many people walking around the world don't know that they don't know. They've never seen something like this, or worse yet, they've been through Myers-Briggs or they've been through DISC and they learned it, so therefore they think they know it, but they're not applying it. They learned it 22 years ago and they probably never use it, or if they use it for 2 or 3 months. This is powerful stuff if you use it and you use it regularly and you monitor yourself regularly. So once again, focus on being highly functioning in your area. And remember, this is not an exact science. Not all reds are exactly the same. Not all blues are exactly the same. Remember the analogy I gave you. Even though someone may be from a certain area and have the same skin tone and the same hair color as most people from that area, very rarely do they look exactly the same. To me, I think of an analogy for sports. I always use sports analogies. When I was playing baseball in college, I remember we really used to study the other team and what their tendencies were, and sometimes I'd take 1 step to the left or 1 step to the right, and then when the hitter hit the ball where they would normally hit it, I would dive for it and it would go in my glove, as opposed to how many times you see the guy dive for it and it goes outside of his reach. You know why? Because he didn't have the competitive advantage. He didn't take that 1 step to the left by doing the extra studying that other people have done. That's what I'm trying to share with you right now. This is not an absolute thing. Greens sometimes want to have something that works 100% of the time. I always kid with people and go, there's no way you can go up to anyone and say, humu humu, nuku nupu, apu a'a, and they'll go, oh, really? Well, then I'll buy whatever you're selling. You know, there's no magic phrase. There's no magic word. There's no one thing you can say or do to a blue or to a yellow or to a red or a green. But what you can do is be living in full color. You're no longer in black and white. You're not just doing the same presentation to the same person over and over and over again. Now you're listening. You're caring about another person. You're studying your opponent, if you will, and you're going to find out what is the best way to deliver the message to them. And you got to know that's going to increase your percentages. And I'm telling you, it's going to make you a happier person. More people will like you. More people will trust you. Life will become much more effortless and a whole lot more fun by studying this stuff. Well, as I said in the beginning, go through this again and again and again. Wear this DV out. Wear the audio out. Use all the components. Read the book again and again and again. And get your whole team using it, folks. Because as I said, imagine an entire team of people that is unconsciously competent with all of this information. There's no doubt it has to make an amazing difference. And please understand this as a final point. The first 4 years of this company, we did a major live event. Like, we only do them quarterly now, but we did one every month. And I was in people's face teaching this for 2 to 2.5 hours at every seminar. all of our leaders got fully indoctrinated with this information. This was a core component of what we did, and we just don't do this teaching and training at the live events anymore. So it's important your people have it. If you want to compete with the top people that had this as part of their DNA, and they still reference it constantly, if you want to compete with them, if you want to do what they've done, you've got to get this information, not just for yourself, but for your team. So it's a pleasure. It is an honor for me to be your director of training. I love sharing this kind of information with you. I believe World Ventures can and will be the biggest company in the history of this industry, and it's because we're giving you the competitive edge that other people simply don't have. Just make sure you're using that edge, and I look forward to seeing you at one of our big events.